Oh, man. Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is Wednesday night. Ask Brother Leonard Q&A. The 9th of February, 2022. I have a topic for discussion later on in class. Is another witness. Like I said before, it's a lot of information coming out lately. So this is another witness for Shem being in the land of Africa. I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel, and hit the notification button if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel. We're dealing with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses at Mount Sinai by our Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome everyone to Prophets of Awakening channel. Welcome to the Ask Brother Leonard segment, Q&A session. We're going to do our moment of silence, prayer, and the Psalms, and then we'll do some current events and a little need to know information. Then we'll go into some our Q&A section. Okay. So the moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our deliverance from the land of our oppressors over here in the Americas. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto Thee. Therefore we come before Thee at this hour, seeking Thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before Thee, as Thy servant David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before Thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for You possess the power to do so. We desire to walk after Thee, O Lord, and to keep Your commandments and Your testimony and Your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of this covenant that was written down by Your prophets. O Lord, allow Thy face to shine upon Thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord. Hide not Thy face from us any longer, for we need You so very much at this hour. Peace be unto You. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read Psalms 112. It says, blessed is the man that feareth the Lord. Okay. Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in His commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Unto the upright there ariseth light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. The good man showeth favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. Verse 7, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desires upon his enemies. He hath dispersed. He hath given to the poor. His righteousness endureth forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. So that's Psalms 112. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord. Okay, any comments on that? Okay. And, like I said before, it's the title itself is saying enough, but it says, blessed is the man that feareth the Lord. And I'm going to read verse 7 again. It says, he shall not be afraid, the man that feareth the Lord. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desires upon his enemies. And I'm going to witness to that myself. Okay. So with that being said, we'll go to the current events. Okay. Okay.
New panic buying wave is rapidly spreading across China as food shortages get significantly worse amid new movement restrictions and the beginning of Beijing's Winter Olympics. We have a lot to cover today, so don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Millions of Chinese residents are currently facing a shortage of food and other daily essentials and having to pay some exceedingly expensive prices for what they can still find in stock. In Hong Kong, a new set of movement restrictions is preventing the entrance of truck drivers responsible for delivering supplies to local grocery stores. Recent mandates issued by authorities in mainland China are forbidding truckers to re-enter the territory after they leave to pick up supplies at distribution centers. And after some drivers tested positive for the virus, the Chinese government reimposed mass testing and isolation measures, exacerbating delivery delays. Since Saturday, food supplies in the area have dropped as much as 70%, with supplies of fresh produce and fruit being the hardest hit. According to the Chamber of Hong Kong Logistics Industry Vice Chairman Chan Fu-Chuan, the region relies on mainland China for more than 90% of its needs, and at this point, most vegetables and fish cannot be found anywhere. At the same time, prices of food staples have seen massive spikes, going up 30 to 50% in less than a week, while some perishable products such as pea sprouts faced even sharper increases, said Hong Kong Food Council Chairman Thomas Ng. In a recent statement, Ng said that supplies are still stuck at the border and revealed that the logistics chain has broken. Several reports are describing that supermarket shelves across the territory are bare, with only expensive imported goods remaining. As fears of extensive shortages and new lockdowns emerged, residents have engaged in a new panic buying wave, further aggravating the situation. Local officials say that the new panic buying frenzy resembles what happened in 2020 when shoppers emptied store shelves in record time. Only this time, it's coming at a time when food supplies are already tight all across the nation. Demand usually peaks around the Lunar New Year holiday. Prices are typically higher as grocers struggle to restock inventories. On top of that, the flow of goods has been slower as key ports have been closed or operating at lower capacity in recent weeks. The supply of chilled pork, poultry, and eggs, which is generally stable, is now rapidly declining, according to one government spokesperson. On Monday, the volume of vegetables and fruit that arrived on the wholesale market was 1/3 of what typically comes in. Sudden stress on the territory's food supply chain is forcing some stores to reimpose purchasing limits, sparking frustration amongst locals.
Okay.
Chinese officials have been rushing to prevent the resurgent outbreak in Hong Kong from spilling over into Guangdong province. Recent days, the number of daily cases has surged over 600, stressing the territory's broader healthcare and contact tracing infrastructure. But industry experts alert that there's a lot more at stake than just the food supply. Hong Kong is one of the most important hubs for China's exports, and the region also imports building materials, furniture, and home appliances from the mainland, as explained by China-Hong Kong Freight Association Chairman Stanley Chiang. An extended disruption at the border would affect Hong Kong's economy even further, he warned. The territory has been severely affected by increasingly strict movement restrictions aimed to curb contagion, and higher grocery and consumer good costs can have an outsized impact on its population, given that almost one quarter of its residents are living in poverty. The impact could be disastrous if restrictions keep going tougher, Chiang stressed. However,
okay, so you see the picture, like I said, is China's getting it because of I guess the government must have started it, but they caused the people to start running to the stores and panic buying, and now a bunch of people is like you said, millions of people are not even don't even have food because everybody ran to the stores and hoarded it up and threw off the distribution. Anybody else have any comments on that? It ain't no but a matter of time this thing gonna cave in. No comments. Okay. So with that being said, I got some need to know information, and what I'm doing tonight is actually it's 4 parts to this Shem in the land of Africa, but I'm doing 3 parts of it, and I'm spreading it out through. I'm gonna do 1 part right here with the need to know information, and I'm gonna do a segment of Q&A, part 2, and then my topic for discussion will be part 3. So I'm just gonna meet it out, and we can just divulge information like that. Okay, so this is need to know information right here. It's long. Okay.
In the Rwanda massacre of 1994, the main antagonists, the Hutus, claimed that their neighbors, the Tutsis, who were the victims of the massacre, were foreigners and so not indigenous to the land. The question is, foreigners from where? I don't know. Nevertheless, the Hutus knew enough not to accept the Tutsis as their kinsmen, let alone allow them to rule them. This claim made by the Hutus was made 200 years earlier in West Africa, during the time of the transatlantic slave trade. The Islamic African monarch, Mohammed Bello, second Sultan of the Sokoto Empire, made the same claim to justify the war and ethnic cleansing he was carrying out against his neighbors, the old Oyo Negro Empire, which bothered his kingdom. A visit was made to the Sultan, Bello, by Europeans desperate to find the source of so many enslaved people coming down to the coast. The reason Bello gives, Mohammed Bello, who was the second Sultan of the Sokoto Empire, the reason he gives is that his enemies were not Africans at all, even though they were black. The following is what he said. The inhabitants of this province, Yaba, it is supposed, originated from the remnants of the children of Canaan, who were of the tribe of Nimrod. The cause of their establishment in the west of Africa was as it is stated, in consequence of their being driven by Yaroba, son of Catan, out of Arabia, to the western coast between Egypt and Abyssinia. From that spot, they advanced into the interior of Africa till they reached Yaba, where they fixed their residence. On their way, they left in every place they stopped at a tribe of their own people. Thus, it is supposed, all the tribes of Sudan who inhabit the mountains are originated from them, as also are the inhabitants of Yaori. Mohammed Bello claims that the victims, the old Oyo Negro Empire, even though they are dark-skinned like other people in Africa, were actually foreigners and not indigenous to the land. The Yoruba people who live in Nigeria, the Gadangbe people who live in Ghana, and the Ewe people who live in Ghana, Togo, and Benin all share the same point of origin in the old Oyo Empire that Mohammed Bello was enslaving and beyond. This means that they are indeed the same people and related to each other. But because we lack history, many do not know this basic truth. The Gadangbe history teaches that before arriving in their present home, their ancestors lived in Ile-Ife, present-day Western Nigeria. Ile-Ife used to be the spiritual home of the Ewe Empire of Old Oyo, and the present occupiers of Old Oyo are the Yorubas. Before the name was changed to Yoruba, the people in the surrounding area identified by their tribe names. Collectively, these were known as Evevio, Hebrew people, under the governance of Old Oyo. This means the Gadangbe, the Ewes, and the Yorubas are actually one people. Unfortunately, migrating to separate locations in Africa over many years caused these groups to forget they are one and the same people, thus leading to the situation where Yoruba does not identify themselves as Evevio and the Gadangbes do the same. Yet in truth, all these three groups are one. All these three groups of people are one. They are all Evevio's Hebrew people. That which separates them are the dialects, but in terms of their ancient origins, they are all one and the same people. Mohammed Bello's claim that his victims, the Yoruba people who live in Nigeria, the Gadangbe who live in Ghana, and the Ewe people who live in Ghana, Togo, and Benin, who all share the same point of origin, the old Oyo Empire and beyond, were not African at all, even though they were black, begs the question, where do these people come from then? What is their origins? To find answers to this question, we need to turn to the Torah, to the book of Bereshit, Genesis, to a man called Noah and his family, specifically his sons, to start our search. We're going to read Noah's account, and we're going to demand that the text makes sense literally. Genesis 6. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. And Noah begat three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This verse has at least 6 difficulties. Let's study the verse carefully to find these difficulties. We will point them out next week. Actually, let me give you one. Why are the children not listed in order? Japheth, we know, is the oldest. It should be Japheth, Shem, and Ham. But why is Shem mentioned first?
Okay. So, with that part 1 being played, anybody have any comments? Like I said, you got to, you know, either they was in over here in America, or they was over there where the brother telling you they was at. And also, you mentioned the Arabs. And we also know about the Arab slave trade. So that's another dagger to this American myth that the Israelites is over in America. Anybody have any comments? So this is part one, the Shem and the land of Africa, part one. Okay. Okay.
What's his premise? Why was he thinking that Shem was mentioned first?
Oh, we're gonna play part two.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so let me get out of this. Yeah, so I'm in I'm gonna open it up right now for anybody have any questions or comments about anything, and then we're going to I'm gonna use play part two as comment from on my part for this Q&A. Anybody else have anything else that they want to bring up? Any questions or comments about anything? Okay. So let me go to actually I gotta answer. Let me answer this question first. It says I was looking on my in my my videos in the comment section, and there's a question was in there, and it says we was talking about Ephraim the other day. We was reading out of Hosea, and it mentioned that Jeroboam had built the two calves, and he built another temple, and he built it, and he made the two calves, and he led Israel away from the Lord of hosts and had them worship the calves, and it's the same calves that Aaron built at Mount Sinai while Moses was up talking to the Lord. So and it's coming out of Egypt. So the other part of the question was, what is the bull in front of the Wall Street? I wanted to explain that. So that's the same thing. The bull is tied to Egypt. If you go back and start looking at a lot of the images on the walls in Egypt, it's got the horns, the bull horns with the sun in between it. Horn sitting there. So, but that bull, which is Apis, Apis is that's a bull, and that's how Bartholomew, when he came into Egypt after Alexander died, Bartholomew was given Egypt, and he went into Egypt, and he saw how advanced the Egyptian civilization was. He wanted them to make him a god, and they wouldn't. So he started killing them and started tearing down their temples, and then they finally agreed to make him a god. So they called him Serapis. Apis is in that word, Serapis, but it's the bull. That's why they call him Serapis. Anyway, so yeah, that bull that they have Wall Street is tied to the same thing, because everything else over here in America is predicated off of the Egyptian civilization. We got the Washington Monument, that's an obelisk. You got the pyramid down in Tennessee. They came in here and turned the Nile, Mississippi into the Nile. It's the same thing. Israel is our forefathers was in bondage. Is what Egypt means. They was in bondage in Egypt, and then we here in bondage here in America. So it only ties in with the bull they got on a Wall Street. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna set this up for play part two.
The biblical story of Noah and his sons has been the cause of grief for Black Africans for centuries. Throughout the slave trade, Europeans justified the enslavement of the Africans with this story. They truly believed that God cursed sub-Saharan Africans and destined us as their slaves. Starting with Adam and Eve, they came up with the pre-Adamic theory, putting Black people outside of the human race. The next was Noah's curse of his grandson, which became in time their single greatest justification for the enslavement of Black Africans. I remember as a kid, our class took an excursion to the Elmina Castle for the first time. And during the tour, I secretly asked the guide why all this happened. Noah cursed us, he said. Noah in the Bible? Yes, my son, was his response. This really disturbed me, so I took it upon myself to search this out, and I'll present you with my findings after so many years of studies. From 1848 till 1978, the Mormon Church had an official Cain doctrine. They said there was war in heaven, and 2/3 of the angels fought for Jesus, and another 1/3 fought for Lucifer. The 2/3 became humans on earth, and the 1/3 became demons without bodies. Those angels who fought for Jesus but were less valiant were punished. These were the lineage of Cain. Cain, son of Adam and Eve, was born a white man, they said, but because he killed Abel, God put a mark on him. This turned him into the first Negro. He married his sister, and she became Negro number 2. They became the parents of the Negro race. Let's look at a couple of more quotes. You see some classes of the human family that are Black, uncouth, uncomely, disagreeable, and low in their habits, wild, and seemingly deprived of nearly all the blessings of the intelligence that is generally bestowed upon mankind. Cain slew his brother. Cain might have been killed, and that would have put a termination to that line of human beings. This was not to be, and the Lord put a mark upon him, which is the flat nose and black skin. Another quote. Shall I tell you the law of God in regard to the African race? If the white man who belongs to the chosen seed mixes his blood with the seed of Cain, the penalty under the law of God is death on the spot. This will always be so.
Okay. Any comments so far? Okay, so you see right there how they flip the scriptures all around. When we know in Genesis chapter 3, Cain was cursed. And his original color was a man of color. He had melanin in him, and the Most High, the Lord of hosts, took the melanin out of him. They didn't flip the story around and said that he was white and he made him black. And like I said, just rightly dividing this right here tells you that, there's a problem. There's a serious problem going on with the Old and the New Testament. Serious problem. Because the man that's in the Old New Testament that everybody worshiping is a white man. So we see right here how they flip this all around. That they, it's they just swept under the rug just like they did everything else. We saw how they covered those cities up, those black towns, covered them over water, and act as if they never even existed. Same thing with these doctrines right here. In the very beginning, these doctrines was out in the open, but they didn't already serve their purpose, so now they got them hid back off and ducked off in the corner somewhere now. Okay. You comment before I started back.
It kind of reminds me of the situation that why Whoopi is suspended. She don't even realize what she was saying. But yeah, because she said that the Holocaust, all the it wasn't a race thing. It was because they were all, it was white people attacking other white people, and they got upset. So, she didn't even realize what she was saying. She was saying it wasn't about race; it was about control, and now she's suspended.
Right.
And so this is kind of, people, they're upset because they know the truth. And if she's saying that it was white people that did it to white people, it wasn't a race thing, it's kind of calling into question, it's making people think a little bit. Even though she didn't intend it that way,
Right.
she was telling the truth.
Exactly. Right. Right. And then I mean, she been around long enough to know that that was a no-no anyway. When you dealing with the Jews, when you're dealing with the Jews, and especially with the Holocaust, you might as well keep it to yourself.
But her name is Goldberg. She renamed herself Whoopi Goldberg. I
Okay.
don't think she has a clue about the truth. I don't know. She, you would think that she was thinking that, you know, the Goldbergs are the I don't know. She considers herself a Jew, but she didn't understand. I think she was just saying. I don't know. I don't even think she knew. She may have, but I don't think she honestly understands. Because a lot of people not understanding what's so wrong what she's saying, but because we know they don't want any kind of, they don't want to get people to questioning anything.
Right. Right. Yeah. I was. I had mentioned a couple of years ago. I was talking about. Uh, I had mentioned this one of those techniques they use uh, called the Halogen dialectic, where they they create a problem and then make the problem so bad that you ask for help, and then they come around and fix the problem. But when the fix that they got for the problem was something they already had all the time, they create the problem for you to ask for it, and then they give it to you. So, and another part of that is, if you notice on the news, they always got three people on the screen. One of them asking questions, and then the other one, uh, he called it sort of kind of like he don't understand, and the other person got the answers. And that's the same way. That's how they did the New Testament. It's like a perfect example there is Job. All the questions Job asking the Lord, and like I said, there ain't none of the prophets that conducted themselves like that in the presence of the Most High. First of all, they fell weak. They wasn't standing there talking, running their mouth, chopping their gums when the Most High showed up, like Job doing. And it's even in the book of Barak, same thing. But like I was saying, they um, the girl Tiffany Haddish, I mean Tiffany whatever I think it's I can't remember her last name, but they Israel. I mean they Jews. They was groomed, so it's not like she don't know.
Mm,
And you have to look at that too. They're using somebody that look like us because of with all the, everything that's going on, all the information that's being raised by the Hebrew Israelites. They they losing their substance. They know nobody really dealing with them, so they bringing themselves back to the forefront by using Whoopi Goldberg to say that.
mm,
Now the information, now everything's back on them being the
mm-hmm.
chosen people and all that. That's how they work. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else got anything on that? Okay. We play some more.
This is the reason why everyone has to study this book, especially the story of Noah and his family. If it was the source and justification of our enslavement, we better know what it really says. You will be surprised what it doesn't say. Some nuggets about the Hebrew text before delving into the story. This book called the Torah, given to us by the Creator, is destined as an instrument of communication. The Creator is communicating to us through it. My only interest in this book is what is the Creator's message? What is the Creator communicating to me? when I pick up this book, the question in my mind is, what is his message?
Now, what I'm going to
say is absolutely crucial, and it will save you from your own errors and errors of others if you understand it well.
Books
can have meaning. Only humans can have intentions.
The
meaning is not the subject here, it's the intention. The creator's intentions of communicating this book is what I am interested in. This is my Torah, he says. With this book, I'm going to communicate to you. My question is, how? What am I supposed to do with the book to get the communication? If he does not tell me, then there is zero communication. One thing you should know about the creator who gave this book is that he speaks in layers. The psalmist tells us, God spoke one thing, I heard two, for God has strength. This is the same way the Torah is written, with layers of understanding, intentionally hidden in the text. This is why we are told by Solomon, the honor of God is to conceal a matter, whereas the honor of kings is to search out a matter. Let's look at an example. Genesis 37. And they took him and cast him into the pit. Now the pit was empty. There was no water in it. The pit being empty means there's nothing in the pit. You already told me that.
Why do you go
on further to tell me there was no water in the pit?
Do I not
know that?
Do
I not know there's no water in the pit?
So for
what reason, for what purpose did the Torah write there was no water in the pit? Because the pit was only empty of water. This Torah is written with precision. No word is extra. If something is repeated, there is a reason why. A word of caution. The Torah is not the Hebrew equivalent of the New York Times or Daily Graphic. It's not meant for casual, informal perusal over a cup of tea. It requires careful, precise study. And when you do that, you will often find that what you thought it said just isn't there. Matter of fact, something quite different is there. Now let's go to the story of Noah and his sons.
Okay, so that was part 2. So anybody have anything? We're gonna go ahead and do the part 2B. This is Shem in the land of Africa. Okay. Okay. Wrong.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This verse, like I said, has at least 6 difficulties. I'm going to demand that the text makes sense literally. And I'm going to think of every objection to what the verse says to bring out the hidden message. Number 1, you tell me these are the offsprings of Noah, and I'm expecting you to list his offsprings. But you go on to other materials before coming back to list his offsprings. Put that in your spirit. Number 2, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. Why repeat his name?
In English,
if you don't repeat the name, you have to say he. In Hebrew, you don't have to put a he. Very often, you have just an adjective or a verb without a repetition of the subject. So the repetition of the name also seems extra. It's really not. It also needs some explanation. Now let's explain these two difficulties. These are the products of Noah. These are the things he produced. What are the products of Noah? Noah. He himself is his own product. God creates man and leaves a big blank and says you should fill it in by your choices, by your life. Create your own character, your own history, your own record. This is what Noah produced. Noah. And what he produced was that he was righteous, he was pure, he was complete, and he walked with God. Notice, Noah's spiritual achievements are mentioned before his children. Your spiritual achievement is more important than the children you bring into this world. You are not born a sad, a righteous person. It's a matter of your own effort. You can do it. The opportunities are given to you. And if you exert the effort, that's what you will accomplish. Now, we told Noah was a righteous man. He was perfect in his generation. There is no word for perfect in Hebrew. The word tamim means pure, complete. Perfect is an English concept. And there is no word, I don't think, in Hebrew that carries that concept. So Noah was a righteous man. He was perfect in his generation. Here we have a contradiction in concept. Let me bring it out by a simple example. How tall is Akwete? Akwete is 6'2" in New York. Either Akwete is 6'2" or he isn't. Are you telling me when Akwete leaves New York, he's not 6'2"? A height does not depend on being at a certain location. Righteous, pure, complete. All these terms are absolute terms. How can you take an absolute term like righteous, pure, complete, and then say in his generations? It's a contradiction in concept. So this statement can be read in two ways. Number one, yes, righteous, pure, complete are absolute terms. And in his generation means even in his generation, in spite of, he managed to be righteous, perfect, pure, complete. So this is adding to Noah's praise. Put that in your spirit. Or, yes, righteous, pure, complete are relative terms. If Noah had been in another generation with great people, he would not be so outstanding. So this reduces his praise. Now we are told Noah walked with God. What information is this supposed to give us? This is not the first time this phrase is used in the Torah. We've seen it in Genesis 5.
Are you relying on friends for stock advice, or worse, social media? Or maybe you trust a stockbroker?
All the days that Adam lived came to 930 years, and he died. Seth came to 912 years, and he died. Enosh, 905 years, and he died. Kenan, 910, then he died. Mahalalel, 895, and he died. Jared, 962 years, then he died. Verses 22. Enoch walked with God 300 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Notice that Enoch is the only one mentioned here that he walked with God. All the days of Enoch came to 365 years. How does his relate to the previous generation? 365? Does it seem he's getting shortchanged a bit? 600 years what? Everybody lived about 890, but Enoch's life was cut short at 365. Now, if you argue that life got short around that time, all you have to do is continue, and you will notice in verse 27, Methuselah lived 969 years. All the days of Methuselah came to 969 years, then he died. So how come Enoch missed out on about 600 years? Now let's take verse 22 again. Enoch walked with God 300 years, and he begot sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch came to 365 years. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, for God took him. You already told me Enoch walked with God in verse 22. Why repeat it again in verse 24? Why the emphasis? You thought I forgot it so quickly? Clearly, repeating Enoch walked with God in verses 24 is to tell us why God took him. A fact, when stated in the Torah, is usually a reason for the next fact or the explanation of the next fact. Somehow, walking with God is the reason he lost 600 years. So when the text tells us Noah walked with God, we have to pay very close attention because we may have another Enoch here. My critic in Las Vegas will say, walking with God is not such a bad thing. Well, it's not. But what does God prefer? In Genesis 17, we are told, and Abram was 99 years old, and God appeared to Abram, and he said to him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be perfect. Now, how does this compare with what the Torah says about Noah? Noah walked with God. Abraham walked before God. Can we, on the basis of the text, find some indication as to which is superior, walking before God or walking with God? Yes. God said to Abraham, God commands Abraham. I have God on record. Walking with God, the Torah testifies Noah did that in the context of praising him. So it's obviously something good. But God is not on record as to say, this is what I want. With Abraham, he's on record. I am telling you, this is what I want. This is at least an indication that walking before God is superior. In summary, this is what we have so far. These are the products of Noah, what he created. He created his own spiritual character. And the repetition of the name Noah means he created himself. We said there's a contradiction between righteous, whole, pure, complete on the one hand, and in his generations on the other hand, because righteous, whole, pure, complete are absolute terms, and in his generations seems to make it relative. It can be looked at as adding to his praise or reducing his praise. We looked at walking with God, which we said since Noah walked with God and lost about 600 years, it's clearly at least equivocal to walking with God. Is it good or bad? And with speaking to Abraham, God is on record that he should walk before him. And with this, we begin to see a little bit of weakness with Noah. And I'm going to follow that thread, looking for weaknesses in the text about Noah, so we can justify the one who says, in his generation, is to be used to reduce his praise. And in doing that, we'll come back to an amazing conclusion that I'm thinking maybe you haven't taken time to look at.
Okay. Any comments? No comment?
I'm not sure if I understand or agree with what he's saying.
Okay.
Like he's talking about Enoch. To me, just because he did not, he was not on the earth as long as the others. Clearly, Adam did not please, the Lord of hosts because because of what happened. but he lived a long time. But Enoch being taken up, to me, sets him apart. I don't know.
Right, yeah, well, you see, he got rabbi on the front of his name for one thing. So he been schooled in a certain way.
Mm.
Yeah, so let me see. Okay. Here we go. Hmm.
We are still dealing with the weaknesses of Noah, and today we're going to compare and contrast Genesis chapter 7, verses 1 and verses 7. This requires precise reading and a little thinking. And the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the ark, you and all your household, for it is you that I have seen as a righteous man before me in this generation." Verse 7. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the flood waters. If you notice in verses 1, God tells Noah to come into the ark. But in verses 7, we are told why Noah went into the ark. It was because of the flood waters. What would we have expected? Noah went in because God told him to go in. What we have here is God telling Noah to go into the ark. And Noah goes in not because God told him, but because maybe the waters was up to his neck. If you know the style of the Tanakh, it's even worse. When someone is told to do something and the person follows orders, the Tanakh indicates it in one of two ways. One, and he did as he was told. He did so. That's not written here in regards to Noah. Or it repeats over again what he was told to do. He did X, Y, Z. That is not written here either. Verses 6, verses 19 to 22 give us a very clear example. And of all living things of all flesh, 2 of each you shall bring into the ark to preserve alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the fowl after its kind, and of the animals after their kind, of every creeping thing upon the ground after its kind. 2 of each shall come to you to preserve life. And you take for yourself of every food that is eaten, and gather it into you. And it shall be for you and for them to eat. Verses 22. And Noah did according to all that God had commanded him, so he did. So we see here that what is written here is a third thing, which is very peculiar. It sounds like God's command was not enough to get Noah to go in. So he waited until he was forced in, which doesn't sound too good. He goes in not because God says go in, but because of the flood waters. Let's look at yet another weakness. Genesis 6:18. And I will set up my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. This verse is written in an extremely peculiar way. No one today will write it that way. The order is very peculiar. You and your sons, and your wife and your sons' wives. No one will ever write it this way today. How did they come into the ark? Genesis 7. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark. They follow the instructions given them, which is very good. Now, How were they instructed to come out of the ark? Genesis 8. Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons, and your sons' wives with you. If you notice, now the order has changed. When they were instructed to go into the ark, God said, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives. But when they are commanded to come out of the ark, they are instructed, you and your wife, and your sons, and your sons' wives. The text is trying to tell us something here. What is the text saying on the simplest level is this. The whole world is going down the drain and is going to be destroyed. Because of that, don't you engage in creativity. You have to register to destruction. Go in, men and women separate. And they went in, men and women separate. Now, when they are told to come out, they are being told to come out, get together, and repopulate the world. Let me prove it to you. Genesis 8. Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons, and your son's wife with you. Every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, of fowl, and of animals, and of all creeping things that creep on the earth, bring out with you, and they shall swarm upon the earth, and they shall be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And they shall be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. So clearly, the intentions is that now I am saying men and women should go out together. So to get together and repopulate the earth. But how did Noah come out? Genesis 8. So Noah went out, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. They did not do what they were told. They did not do it. Which again indicates some kind of weakness here. We are seeing a whole bunch of misses. Even the animals obeyed. Genesis 8. Every beast, every creeping thing, and all fowl, everything that moves upon the earth, according to their families, they went forth from the ark. The animals came out by families. Only the people did not do that. Another weakness. Let's look at weakness number 3. There is still an implied weakness in the instructions to make the ark. Genesis 6. And God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth has become full of robbery because of them. And behold, I am destroying them from the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. You shall make the ark with compartments, and you shall choke it both inside and outside with pitch. And this is the size you shall make it: 300 cubits, the length of the ark, which is about 500 feet. 50 cubits, its breadth, that is 90 feet. And 30 cubits, its height, that is 50 feet, like 5 stories high.
Okay. Okay, so that was part 3. So if you want to watch it, like I said, the name of it is Shem in the land of Africa. If you want to watch it, I think it's another part today, but I can't sit there and play it. Anybody have any comments on that? Anything he said that they want to comment on? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna play this right here. Since I kind of forgot to play it, so I'm gonna play it right here before I close out. Then I'm gonna close out. It's some things they expected to happen in 20. It's like some need to know information. Some things they expected to happen in 2022. I thought it was pretty interesting. So here we go. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see it now.
Only one that has a jam-packed year laying before you. The great solar system around us has a lot planned for our next 12-month trip around the sun. The universe never stops impressing us and wowing us, but this year it's got a few very unique and exciting tricks up its sleeves. Scientists and astronomers have been patiently waiting for this year to come, and that begs the question, what are the most insane space events taking place this year? Well, get ready to find out. Are you a fan of Mars, Saturn, and Venus? If so, the end of March will have something truly special waiting for you. That's when those three planets will appear incredibly close together. Just before sunrise during the final 2 weeks of the month, the trio will be so close that they will appear in the exact same field of view for some telescopes and binoculars. Of the three, Venus will be easily the brightest, with Saturn and Mars being much dimmer. The amazing dance of these three planets will continue in the first week of April, with Mars and Saturn appearing extremely close again on the mornings of the 4th and 5th, nearly overlapping each other, while Venus continues to shine brightest. You'll need a clear view down to the southeast horizon to see Saturn and Mars up close and personal. At 4:45 a.m. MDT, the pair of planets will break the horizon and be approximately a fist width high an hour later. Before the sun begins to illuminate the sky, that will be the greatest time to view the planets. The night sky will give you another spectacular show come May 15th. That's when we will be granted a front row seat to a prime time total lunar eclipse. As you well know, a total lunar eclipse happens when the full moon passes into the shadow of the Earth and is blotted out for a short amount of time. Sunlight filtering through our atmosphere illuminates the shadowed moon with a haunting reddish hue, which gave rise to the term blood moon. This eclipse is also called a flower moon because it occurs in the springtime, and it will start around 8 p.m. MDT on the 15th of May when the moon rises. At around 8:27, the partial phase of the lunar eclipse will begin, and for the next hour, the dark portion out of the moon will grow larger, while the moon ascends higher and higher into the night sky. Totality during this eclipse will begin at 9:29 p.m. and then conclude at 10:53, with the maximum eclipse occurring at 10:11 p.m.
That moment.
Yeah, before I finish playing this, I don't know if anybody heard about it, but I think it was the 4th came out. Moonfall movie came out at the movies, and it's something everybody need to watch. It's got a lot of stuff in it, cryptic stuff. Pretty good.
Going to be a special night. It's true that another total lunar eclipse is coming this year in November, but the one in May will be an ideal time with a hopefully ideal temperature. What better way to kick off your summer season than watching one of the most miraculous, wondrous shows the sky can provide? June 24th, 2022 is a day you will want to circle on your calendar if you love getting a good view of multiple planets in our system. Just before sunrise on that summer day, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn will all align like billiard balls on a pool table. Best of all, they will all be bright enough to be seen by the naked eye. And to make this early morning meeting even more special, the crescent moon will also line up with the planets, positioning itself between Venus and Mars. Now, an important note, although the planets will appear to be in a line in the sky, they will not actually be lined up perfectly in the solar system. Instead, this is just how they will appear from the perspective of Earth. But you have to admit, it'll be one heck of a way to start your morning. Have you ever heard of the Mars opposition? Well, you should have, because it's going to lead an amazing vista of the red planet this year. The Mars opposition is when the planet is opposite of the Sun from the perspective of Earth. When Mars is in opposition, it is visible all night long and also shines brighter than most stars up in the sky. Our planets reach opposition as well, but Mars doesn't do it very often. In fact, it only reaches opposition once every 26 months. In fact, after it does it this year on December the 8th, the red planet won't reach opposition until January 15, 2025. Some oppositions of Mars are closer than others, thanks to the planet's elliptical orbit. Back in 2003, the planet came within 34.6 million miles of Earth during its opposition. This time, it'll approach 51.1 million miles. It's not as close as it was back in 2020, but it's closer than it will be for the next opposition. In fact, Mars won't be this close again until 2033. While it's not only a great time to get a good look at Mars, the opposition of the planet is also the perfect time for space agencies like NASA to launch missions to the Martian world. It's worth noting that both Saturn and Jupiter also reach opposition this year, with Saturn doing so on August 14th and Jupiter reaching opposition on September 26th. So many planets are moving around this year, and we can't wait to see them shining bright in the night sky.
Okay, so you see all this activity going on in the sky. The Most High said that the stars and the moon and all that are for signs and for wonders for the people here on Earth. We got a lot of stuff going on. That video is the most frightening space events happening in 2022. Okay. Any comments? No comments? Okay. Okay, computer acted up. I'm gonna say shalom everybody, and I see everybody on tomorrow night for the Women's Advanced Bible Study at 8 o'clock. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right.
Shalom.